Hi, this is Karen, Grandmother Dances in the Night Skies. Oh, take a deep breath in. I'd like to ask you, when you tap into your energy, what do you feel when you feel grief? Several times throughout the year, well, try again. I gotta think how I'm gonna lead into it. Okay, got it. Hi, this is Karen, Grandmother Dances in the Night Skies, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about grief. I know it's not a fun topic, but it's a topic that we all have to face from one point in our lives to another. It's the one common thing that each of us end up having to face at some time in our life is grief, loss. And it's not necessarily even the loss of a person. It can be the loss of a pet. It can be the loss of our vision. It can be the loss of our lifestyle. It can be the loss of security. The list goes on. All the things change. Grief, when we change, when things change, even a new job can be enough that we are grieving it. We are grieving the stability and the routine, the people that we worked with, all those things that happen when we are in that process of change. And once we sit into grief, there's no grief meter. Don't you wish there was? I sure did. So grief to me was grief only could happen if somebody died and my grief meter had to be in crisis before I acknowledged it. What I've learned, instead of waiting for the crisis to happen and my body to totally shut down because I am so depleted in grief, if I nip it in the bud and I face it when I'm first acknowledging it, I have less of an impact hit from it because I'm aware of it. Absolutely, be aware of it. So I always say there's the name it. So name it in the one hand, name it. So what is my grief? What am I grieving? Name it. Then bring it in here in your heart space, claim it. And then after you've claimed it, you can feel it. So once you feel it, acknowledge it, talk to it, get to know it, draw pictures about it, write about it, do whatever you need to actually acknowledge it, and then release it, let it go. So name it, claim it, release it. That three flow helps so much when we're walking through that process of grief. And grief can be grief throughout our lifetime. So I've grieved animals. I still have so many pets that have come and gone. Do you know, in one year, in 2022, no, 21, I lost 22 people, friends or family, in just a 12-month period. 22 people. That was a lot. And then I want to add the animals on top of that. Those animals, I think I had 3 or 4 animals that had passed away. A lot of my animals had gotten to senior age all at the same time. And I lost them. I lost family. I lost friendships. I lost all sorts of things. There was that grieving process. And for me, those gates were wide open. And it seemed like every day there was another grief thing hitting me. And I navigated the turmoil, the fluctuation of it. When we think of the flow of grief, you think, oh, well, I'm going to follow the 5 stages of grief. I'm going to go through this stage of anger, then I'm going to go through negotiation. I'm going to go through all these things that you're going through. And you know what? It doesn't work that way. You can be hit out of left field just walking down the street and all of a sudden just start crying and you go, but I don't even know why I'm crying. And there is no timeline on grief. That is the other thing that is so important to learn. So with my husband, my first husband, when he passed away, uh, I thought I was going to experience all the things, and I had a book on grief, so I read all the different stages of grief. I'm going to allow myself one day to experience each one of those stages. And I got to the end of it. I was going, okay, that's it. I'm done grieving now. I'm going to change my lifestyle. I kicked all my friends out of my life. I reinvented who I was. I was in a state of absolute terror and chaos. And I was just scrambling, hanging on to anything I could hang on to. And I kept myself so busy because if I was busy, I didn't have to calm my mind. And then when I did finally slow down and calmed my mind 2 years later, that's when I began to grieve for my husband. It took 2 years for me even to acknowledge that I was in a state of grief, which is really uncomfortable because I was just going through the stages of grief. My friends around me figured you've been fine Ken's been gone for 2 years. You've been absolutely fine. But I wasn't fine. I was in the process of avoidance. I was in the process of anger, of all those things happening. And I had to get to the point of grief. But nobody else was in that state with me anymore. They went to the funeral, they did their thing, they said hello, goodbye, and they saw me moving on with my life, and everybody got back to normal. So when I reached out and said, hey, I really need some help, I need someone to understand, everybody was baffled, including myself. Why, after 2 years, am I just experiencing it now? And I found out through my grief counselor that that is actually quite common. And some people will even go 5, 10 years before they've acknowledged whatever it is that they're trying to grieve with, because they've been avoiding it so much. So name it, claim it, and then release it is the best advice that I could give you. There's going to be a ceremony that I'm going to show you here, because the ceremony is important. I love ceremony work, but this ceremony, get yourself a jar. Doesn't have to be a big jar like this. It could be a little tiny jar. That's fine too. Get yourself a jar. You're going to want a jar that can put a lid on it. I don't have a lid to show you, but I'll just give you an example. So you're going to take this jar. You're going to put some water under the full moon if you can. If you don't have a full moon around, like, oh, it's like not the full moon time, but you're ready for this, then just put a little bit of salt in the water. Just put just a little pinch of salt. Himalayan salt's the best, but you can use table salt. Put it in the water. And then now that is the purpose. This is the container, the flow, right? Water, because water symbolizes our emotions. Our emotions sit at the bottom of the medicine wheel. So we're going to sit in our emotions and that container of water. Then we're going to take a photo of whatever it is that we are grieving, whether it be, maybe it's a job. You can write the name of the job down. Maybe it's people. Maybe it's a pet, a photo of a pet, a person, a place. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're grieving, you take that and you pop it in your jar. Now you put it in your jar so that you can see it from the outside. Okay, so you can see that from the outside. And then I'm going to put any little trinkets in there that I may want. Maybe I want to throw a couple of crystals in there. Maybe I want to throw some herbs in there. I did one for my dog. I put a dog's collar in there. Whatever it is that you should choose to put in there, do that. So you can sit in there. Now I've got that, and I'm going to put a lid on it. I'm going to, there you go. So now that, what do I do with it? Well, you get a candle, get yourself a little tea light, and you're going to take the tea light and you're going to put it here and put it beside it. And then you're going to light your tea light and you're going to talk to the picture. You're going to share all your grief, all your emotions, all your thoughts. You're going to pour it in. You can do Ho'oponopono, if I forgive you for, or please forgive me for, all the things you need to say to clear up all the pieces. And you're going to feel it. Okay, now I feel pretty empty today, so that's good. I'm done sharing. I'm going to blow out my candle and I'm going to put it on a shelf, or I'm going to put it somewhere where I can see it. And the next day, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to light my candle and I'm going to talk to the picture. I'm going to do that for 7 straight days, which is the first tonal vibration of the galactic masters. So as you see, everything I do in my life kind of revolves in what I teach. So the first 10 galactic masters help us with that completion of grief. So I've done that. I've fit that tonal vibration in. And now I open it up and I pour out the water. I usually pour it down the sink, but you can pour it outside in a garden if you want. So I pour mine down the sink. And then I have all the items that were in there. And sometimes I have lots of little items and sometimes I don't have anything. So then you get that. Now, what do you do with those items? That's entirely up to you. For me, I made a shadow box for one of the items for my dog, Molly. So I had Molly's color in there. I had a little rock that I had just made with her name on it. I did a whole bunch of little things and I put all those items that were in my jar into a shadow box. And then that shadow box got put up on my wall. It is a wonderful way of completion, of allowing yourself the essence of what you are grieving to be able to go. Or you could take all those items, say, you know what, I don't need them anymore, I'm going to bury them. And that's okay too. You just do whatever calls to you, to spirit calls to you. You will know your completion. Once that's complete, then allow yourself to let it go, which is the claim it and now release it, because you don't want to be hanging on to it all the time. Because if I've done that, I've completed it, I've sat in the magic of it, but I'm going to drag it along with me, and I'm going to use that now as my identity. I'm going to use that grief as my, I don't know, my obstacle to stop me from moving forward. I'm going to use that grief in a negative fashion. Instead, you're going to release it, you're going to let it go, and you're going to allow that grief to just go with it. And when you catch yourself back up in the triangle of it, go back to your picture, go back to that spot, say Ho'oponopono, I love you, please forgive me, I love you. Do that. Take a deep breath in, and then continue on, but try not to get stuck in the spin of I got to be, if I'm afraid to move forward from grief. That's a lot of people are afraid to move forward from grief, because if I move forward, that means I'm no longer grieving that person, that item, that thing, that pet, and I'm showing disrespect, which actually is not the case. Those people that we love, the pets we love, they want us to move forward. They don't want us to stop just because they stopped. And their journey did not stop. They've gone on to complete their cycle. And so allow you now the beauty of celebrating, of laughter, of creativity, of loving again, of moving forward. That's part of the grief process. It's a long process, but this hopefully one little thing can help you a little bit. Please reach out if you're struggling. I can do one-on-one counseling. I'm not a psychologist. I need to make that clear. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm here. I'm an ear, and I would be happy to sit with you and give you some more advice into how to move forward in the grief process. So this is Karen, Grandmother Dances in the Night Skies, and I hope this finds a little bit more peace within your heart. I hope.